Welcome to MumAbroad's YouTube channel, where I'm joined today by Dr. Aaron Morris. Originally from California, Aaron has been practicing chiropractic since 2003. In 2004, he moved to Barcelona, where he's since built an extremely successful family practice. Aside from seeing patients at Punt, Aaron enjoys leading professional training seminars for chiropractors. He's also participated in the creation of the Barcelona College of Chiropractic. Hi, Aaron.
Good morning, Jane. Thanks for having me on your call today.
Aaron, let's start off with the basics. What is chiropractic?
Okay, so chiropractic is the largest natural healthcare profession in the world. There's like 100,000 chiropractors more or less in the whole world. And most people, when they think of a chiropractor, they think of like cracking or clicking joints and that kind of stuff. And that's all great. We definitely do that, but it's much, much more. And it's very helpful for a variety of different things that we can definitely get into on this call.
And where did your journey with chiropractic begin?
Okay, so I got into chiropractic as I was pretty young, and my mother had very bad migraine headaches. And so, if you're watching this and you have migraines or you've known someone who does, it's terrible. And she would be at least once a week. She'd be in her room with the door closed, shades down, dark, ill, vomiting, like really, really bad, unable to live. Really unable to participate in life when she was having those. So she had a very, very hard time for pretty much her whole life until she met a chiropractor. And she'd been doing all kinds of medicine. She was taking all kinds of pills. Nothing was working, different therapies. And then she met this chiropractor, and we grew up in the small town in Redding, California. And this chiropractor, a lot of people knew this guy, but I just had no idea what it was until we saw what it did for her and how it changed her life. And it was amazing. It was transformative. She got so much better. The headaches almost went away, and like she's just able to live a normal life. So I was a little guy when I saw that happen. I didn't even understand what he was doing, but I was just like, I want to do that. It was pretty powerful.
Can anyone benefit from chiropractic?
Yeah, absolutely. Most people think, like I just mentioned, that chiropractic is kind of for the neck pain, back pain, clicking joints, popping backs, all that kind of stuff. It's much, much more than that. It's really great for back pain. It's really great for herniated discs. It's really great for headaches and neck pain. But what it's really great is helping people deal with stress better. Okay, so you probably agree with me. There's a little bit of stress in the world, and it seems like it's getting just increasing more and more, and we're wound up and we're stressed, and there's so much to do every day, and there's families to take care of and jobs to do, and there's health issues and there's money issues, and there's all this stuff that just accumulates. And if we don't have a way to deal with all that stress, it accumulates in our body. And if we don't get rid of it, then it creates issues, which can be simple stuff like musculoskeletal things, and it can be deeper things like, more severe and serious health issues. So what chiropractic does is it helps us deal with stress better. Like in a nutshell, it helps you deal with stress better, which I think that's probably surprising for a lot of people.
It's common knowledge that many women have all kinds of aches and pains and discomfort and also stress during pregnancy. So how are you able to help them?
Well, if you look at it just from a purely structural point of view, you have a woman with her body she's been used to for however many years she's been alive. And all of a sudden, over 9 months, there's this transformation that happens. And it's such a beautiful process, but it's major structural changes in the body where all of a sudden there's another person and it's growing and your body's changing. And then you're changing the center of gravity now, where your belly, as it starts to get bigger and grows, all of a sudden it changes your center of gravity. So you're pulled forward. It puts more pressure on the low back, and it puts more pressure on the body in general. It's just it's a beautiful process, and it's a stressful process. And so and seeing a chiropractor who's actually trained to take care of pregnant women, it's essential. I've seen it help so many women not only like have better pregnancies where they have less aches and pains, but also help them have more comfortable births. And the reason being is it's all about alignment, and it's about mobility. And so if someone's misaligned and their spine is misaligned, you have these bones, one bone sitting on top of the other, starts all the way here, goes all the way down through the neck, all the way down to the tailbone. And all those bones, they have to move properly. Like they have to have proper flexibility, and they need to be more or less aligned. And so what happens is if that doesn't happen, you can think of it like a hinge, like a rusty hinge. If a hinge is made to move, and if it doesn't move over time, it gets rusty and it gets rigid and stuck. Does that make sense, Jane? So the whole idea is helping those joints move properly, and it makes the whole body work better.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. And I'd like to add in a question there about postpartum, because quite often I've had 3 children myself, so I'm kind of quite experienced with that after giving birth, it can take a long time to kind of feel normal again.
Yes.
And I was wondering, can you also help in the postpartum period?
Yeah, that's a great question. And while it's really amazing for pregnancy, postpartum, it's incredible because you have this, like I said, this process of 9 months where your body's changing when you're pregnant, and then all of a sudden you go from one day to the next, a massive change. All of a sudden, there's no baby inside of you, and your body went from being in one position all of a sudden to being in a different position. Whether it was a natural birth, it was a cesarean. Then you have to deal with that as well, and dealing with surgery and recovering from surgery after that. Then to breastfeeding and holding a baby, swaddling the baby all day, holding them, looking down while you're breastfeeding. It creates all this tension in the upper back as well. And so there's all of these changes postpartum. Hormonally, the body is changing like crazy. That by getting adjusted by I would have to say it had to be a skilled chiropractor that knows what they're doing and dealing with pregnant women and postpartum. It can be life-changing for them. It's pretty special, actually.
And do you work with babies as well? I'm thinking, when you come home with a newborn baby, and often they're very unsettled in the first few days or even weeks or even months of their lives. Are you able to help in that kind of situation?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's extra training that needs to be done. Most people, when they think of chiropractor, the first thing they think of is not like, why would you ever do that to a baby? Like they'd probably be very surprised. Like, why? That makes no sense. Do they have a bad back? Like, no, it's not that they have a bad back, but it's that they have stress on their nervous system. And so what happens is, and I won't get into all the details, but through a birth process, what can happen is when the baby is delivered, there can be excess force delivered by the physician when they're delivering it, or the midwife, and then what can happen is it can misalign some of the vertebrae in the neck, because you see the head is the first thing that comes out. You've got to get the shoulders out. That's the widest part of their body. And then so they sometimes have to use a lot of force to get the baby out, and it can create problems that we don't even realize. And we wouldn't even think, oh, it was due to the birth. Why can't my baby sleep well at night? Why is he unsettled all the time? Why is she having colic? Why is she getting sick? Why is she having breathing issues? And a lot of it has to do with, with the birth, which is the most natural thing that I could ever think of. Making it more of a medicalized procedure, which I'm not criticizing medicine at all. I think it's really great, especially when it's necessary. But the more natural the birth is, the less problems the baby will likely have once it's born. And so anyway, yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, it's amazing for kids. It's amazing for babies. And it's amazing for people all the way up into their 90s. I have patients who come in, 90-year-old grandmothers, and they love it because it helps them stay as healthy as they can. It helps them stay out of pain. It helps them be more mobile, have more balance, so they have less risk of falls. It's really cool, actually.
So you mentioned that you work with children as well. So I was wondering, what's the most common reason that parents bring children to see you?
Okay, I had a woman bring her son in the other day because he was having headaches. And then when I started talking to her, he's 8. And when I started talking to her about it and other health issues, he was still peeing the bed at night. And so he was unable to control that, and he was peeing. And so I checked his whole spine, and what I found was he had a couple of misalignments up here at the very top of his neck, and at the very bottom, it's one of the bottom bones. It's called the sacrum. It's kind of the tailbone area, the very bottom of the pelvis. And I started working with him, and his headaches went away, and then he like miraculously stopped peeing the bed. It was very, very interesting. But that happens mainly. The reason I tell that story is just basically because it's more wide-reaching than most people think. Like, it can help with a variety of issues, and but I'd say most parents bring their kids because they notice stuff like they're hyperactive, they're not studying well at school, their concentration isn't great, and then they see other kids in my practice and they go, "Why are these kids here?" And I'm like, "Oh, X, Y, and Z," and they're like, "Can I bring my kid?" And I said, "Yeah, of course, let's bring them."
Aaron, do different chiropractors have different approaches, and what makes you stand out from other chiropractors, would you say?
Yeah, they definitely do have different approaches. There's a lot of different techniques in chiropractic, but I think it really comes down to the love that you have for what you do. And I feel like it may sound really odd, but I feel like I didn't really choose chiropractic, but chiropractic chose me. And it actually makes me kind of emotional. Just like, I just love what I do because I've seen it help so many people, just like it helped my mother. And I've been able to do that for other people through this amazing tool. And so while I love my colleagues and I respect them, there's just in any profession you get into or look at, there's people who love what they do, and there's people who do it as a job. For me, this is a vocation. It's a service. It's a way to help people transform their lives. I feel like I was called to it. So yeah, I think that's how I would answer that question.
That's a really beautiful answer.
Thank you.
And finally, Aaron, if you could give one piece of lifestyle advice to benefit all of us, what would it be?
We need to learn how to regulate our nervous systems and deal with stress better. And that sounds like that's a simple phrase, but it's hard to do. The issue that we all have is that we're stressed, we're overstressed, we're wound up, and our nervous systems can't live that way. If you look at animals in the wild, you'll see there's a really cool book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. I don't know if you've heard of it. And it's basically, it looks at these animals in the wild where the prey, while it's being hunted, it goes into this overloaded, stressed emergency response nervous system that's all about saving its life. It's all about survival mode. Okay. And that's one side of our nervous system. And if the animal lived in that accelerated state its entire life, it wouldn't live very long and it wouldn't be healthy. And so what happens is, if you look at these animals in the wild, they'll go in this stressed out state. And as soon as they're in safety, if they're lucky enough to make it to safety, then even just a few minutes later, 5 to 10 minutes later, they're eating grass, they're laying down, they're relaxing, and they're in like a normal, healthy state. Okay. And so that's why I say why zebras don't get ulcers, because they don't live in that stressed out state. Humans are different. We have this gigantic brain, and that's what makes us different. And part of having a huge brain like this is we can imagine stuff. And so we live in that stressed state because if we have an issue, we have an argument, or we feel threatened somehow, we normally don't let it go. We keep thinking about it and we stay locked in that system. And so we need to learn how to not do that. We need to learn how to get out of that and be more adaptable so that we're not locked in a stress state all the time. There's a lot of ways you can do that. One, obviously, is getting your nervous system adjusted by a chiropractor. Two, move. We need to move a lot more. And I'm sorry, this isn't one piece. I'm going to have to do a couple more. We need to move more than we move. And we were talking earlier about a standing desk, getting standing desks. We're not made to sit all day. And then three would be some sort of a meditation or a breathing exercise, combining those so that it can help just decrease stress. It's like an escape valve that just helps us kind of get back to a resting state, which is healthy, which is how we're designed to live. So long response to a short answer, but
Great pieces of advice, I think. Yeah. So I'm going to put your website address at the bottom of the
Mhm.
screen. That's puntvitalchiropractic.com. And
Mhm.
anybody that wants to find out more about your services and the way you work can take a look there, and they will also find your contact details. So
Amazing.
that just remains for me to say thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. I love the work that you're doing, and if I can be help, I'm happy to. So thank you.